Hey, good morning, everybody. I'm Vincent Devall with Eagle Hopes, powered by eXp Realty. I'm here with
Brad Brewer, and I've got the guy with the barb one across his head today because I didn't feel like moving this microphone.
what I think is funny is Brad looks a lot shorter than me in this video.
I could raise the chair back up to what it was.
There we go. Let's go. But then we gotta adjust this.
Yeah. See, it's weird. All right, so we're gonna turn this, people. We got technical difficulties today. That's all.
There we go. Perfect. Got it. All right, looks much better.
We're leaving it here.
We got a divider. Anyways,
Divider.
Happy Monday. Welcome, everyone. Wanted to this week talk about tips and tricks on getting buyers and not getting buyers, for buyers in today's market. So let's start with the number one thing. What do you think is number one on that list?
For a tip or trick for buyers in this market.
Yeah.
Marry the house, date the rate, which we've said before. Honestly,
That's number one.
I think so.
You think so? Okay.
Because
I'm gonna tell you what I think number one is. Let's stop.
okay, go ahead.
Find an agent you know, like, and trust.
I like that. That's a good number one.
You
could go 1 and 1A on that.
We could 1A. Find an agent you know, like, and trust,
Yep.
and then remember you are marrying the house and dating the rate.
Yeah. Right now, people are getting, and we talked about this some last week.
Yep.
And for those who didn't see last week, we got into some buying stuff with time management, or it was a time management discussion.
Yeah.
But yeah, the buyers that I guess the most nervous right now, they keep talking about the rate. And again, there is that legitimate
Fear.
It not just a fear, but that legitimate. We've had buyers that because the interest rate went up to a certain amount, it took them out of their budget that they wanted to buy in.
Correct.
So they need to be able to get to that budget, that new budget financially, which could take more time and savings and stuff like that. Or, Laura, I guess buy a lesser expensive house. So, I don't know if there's any other options. Of course, there's the 2-1 buy down rate that a lot of mortgage brokers have or lenders have.
Yep.
And we've covered that before. So are you looking up rates?
I am. I figure we do.
Yeah, what are the rates today? Start the weekend.
Start the week. They closed Friday at 7.38. Now we used a program or an app called Mortgage News Daily. You can't quite see it from this rate, but Mortgage News Daily, 30-year fixed, the average is 7.38. If you're going FHA 6.71, almost a 0.67 difference for FHA. And if you're can get approved for a VA loan, 6.7. So rates, are coming back down compared to where we were last week. Last week we talked, I think they ended the week before right at above 8. They started last week just below 8, I think.
They were, I believe a week ago, Monday, we looked it up. We could probably go back and check the video. I think they're like 7.96 or something.
Yeah. Now, remember, we're not mortgage lenders. We don't know all of we know a lot of the ins and outs, but because we don't know you and your credit score and, savings and debt to income, that is, that's an average. Doesn't mean you can get approved for that because it's all based on you, your income, your credit history, all those good things. How much money you have to put down really, tells us where you could be at. So tip trick number one, find someone you know, like, and trust. Tip number 2.
Can I add one to that?
Yeah, or that's what we're doing.
Know, like, trust, and gives advice that's good for you, but is also honest about the situation.
Yes.
I've seen, with these concerns, I've seen so many agents just like, oh yeah, your concerns about, okay, let's just wait. I am a firm believer, and one of my friends said a good saying a long time ago. He said, your true friends will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
That is accurate.
And I actually tried to take a little bit of that with a client. You can't deliver it like being a jerk or anything or an asshole.
Right.
You gotta be like, okay, I get your concerns, but let me challenge that. It's essentially, I don't say it in that way, but hey, let me challenge that thought process that's where you go back and forth. A good agent asks a lot of questions, truly understands all your fears, all your needs, even tries to ask questions to uncover what you don't know or what you might not know or think you know.
Right.
All those things. And then, of course you want to like them, listen to them, but you should like an agent that also doesn't just say, oh, all right, well, let's just wait. okay, well, who's the professional here? It's kind of like it's like a financial advisor,
Yep.
right? If I have fears about investing, but my financial advisor's against me, yeah, I want him to say something, or he or she to say something, because, well, they're the expert.
True.
So now I realize everybody out there is a real estate expert.
In more ways than one.
But
That's hilarious.
But a good agent studies, looks at, understands different ways and different directions the market can go and all that kind of stuff. So they should challenge you in a way.
Right.
Again, not being a jerk about it or anything like that, but just so that's number one. So I'll put you number one there with my little.
So we got 1A, 1B, 1C.
1A, 1B, 1C. Okay. I'll go right.
Brutally honest. I think that's gonna be 1C. Brutally honest.
Brutally honest. I think you have to be brutally honest.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm speaking as I know we do this, through different means. Some of it's national, some of it's local, some of it's just looking at the reports that we get out of MLS and other data locally. But we do look at that stuff weekly. I wouldn't say, I'll be honest, not daily, because things change that much daily. Rates seem to change a lot daily lately, but the overall market doesn't change daily, but it can change weekly.
Yep. Yeah, it could. So, and pretty quick. I mean, weekly's a good way to look at it. All right, so we got 1A, 1B, 1C, which is know, like, trust, brutally honest, and marry the house, date the rates.
Okay.
All right.
Tip number 2, and these are all, by the way, talk with your agent about long-term versus short-term buying. Know what your plans are. I know everything can change, and I always caution people. You can plan to stay in a house 5 years, 10 years, but life could take you in different directions. Relocation for a job, other things that could cause a financial change. Just, you can usually plan for your kids leaving and going and stuff like that, but the size house you need, type of land you want. Our last home had 3 acres. I don't think I'd buy 3 acres again. I just don't put much land. And if you got all that, and mine all had to be mowed. It wasn't like part of it was wooded.
Right.
3 acres of mowing, that costs you a bit every month. So
you notice he said it cost you a bit every month, and it's like he was too lazy to mow it himself.
And I wasn't lazy. I mowed half of it, but my lawn guy, who I still use on my small lawn today, because he's awesome. I'm not gonna say his name because I think he's pretty full on clientele. He'd probably murder me. Not really. Love you, Joe. Yeah, I paid for half of it, and the other half I mowed.
Yeah.
But it was still a lot. I mean, and the half I mowed took me 2 hours.
Well, that's a long time. Still,
it's a long time. Hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. Anyway, so what I mean by planning is, you got to look for things in a house. If you're only going to keep it probably 5 years, then you kind of want to have a little bit of understanding what the market's going to do.
Yep.
Now, if you get a major crash, which happened in 08, which again, they're not forecast for, you might throw a lot of this out the window. And we're going to do one of our topics in the coming weeks, but Vince and I got to sit down and we want to put the numbers out there and maybe even share our screen, which is capable of doing. They're showing you some of these statistics on. But if you're 5 years, you got to factor like how much does your mortgage get paid down? What did the market do? If there's a 5% dip annually for 2 straight years versus what you're into the house for, then I want to talk to clients, and typically it's your first time home buyers, right? No family yet, maybe small family, don't need a huge house, and financially they got to start hustle, right?
Right.
So you do all that. Well, in 5 years, you want to make sure you have some equity in the home. So if I try to get buyers to look at, all right, regardless of what the market does, what can I do to this house to create value? So that's something regardless of what the market is going to do, what we think it's going to do, it's trending to do. Just if everything remained, all things considered equal and flat, well, what can I do to create more equity in this house? And that's usually what? Add finished square footage.
Yep.
I mean, that's usually it.
Yep.
Unless you're talking some major exterior, adding pole barns and stuff like that.
Right.
But overall, that's one of the things I talked about.
Yeah, long-term versus short-term
Yeah.
goals and plans, and a lot of people don't think about it, but we talked about, and like Brad said, we're going to talk about this probably in the upcoming weeks, buying versus renting, right? Now, if you plan on being at your job for the next 5 to 7 years, maybe now's a good time to buy. But if you plan on job, moving from Southeast Wisconsin to Arizona in a year, not necessarily a great time to buy. So it's that long-term, short-term planning. Also, family, like if you are newly married, like are you planning on having 1 or 6 kids in the next 5 or 6 years? Like so if your plan is 5 or 6 kids, how are you
6
going?
kids in 6 years? That's impressive.
Yeah, it is. How are you going to, where are you going to put all those little nuggets? Nuggets. Anyways,
TNT.
my youngest is Tegan, and we call her TNT. She's like dynamite, just ready to explode.
Yeah. She's a good kid though.
Yeah, she is. She's a great kid. One of the things tips and tricks is I think the biggest thing for a lot of people is constantly finding a way to save money on a daily basis, right? We talked about that down payment and how nowadays you can get down payment assistance, or we can get seller credits, or only having to put 3.5% down, what that looks like. But the biggest thing is a lot of people don't take into consideration paying for a home inspection. If they're going from an apartment to a house, what do they have to furnish? What is already provided for them versus what do they have to, you'd be surprised how many people that rent don't own a broom, a vacuum, a dustpan. It sounds ridiculous, but they probably don't.
I think they don't at least a dustpan or a broom.
You would hope so, but yeah.
I mean, I think most people do, but there are those that don't.
Yeah.
They don't have the pride of ownership because it's not an ownership, but I call it the pride of where you live.
Or heck, even a garbage can to throw your garbage into once you get it from inside the house to outside the house, right? If the city or whoever you're getting garbage from isn't providing, and you have to provide your own garbage can, snow removal, whatever it might be, those are just key factors.
Let me get that.
Left door open today. It's kind of funny. It's like, oh, there's a human walking by, and you're going to hear a bang. There we go.
Very gentle.
Actually, it was a gentle close.
Very gentle.
So those one-off costs that we don't see on a daily basis, that you don't remember, don't think about. And the other thing too is saving for those one-off costs of having to pay maybe for your own electricity, water.
Depends on the rental.
Yeah. Yep.
Most of the meters are separate. In a lot of cases, you get some duplexes. Sometimes you get the water sewer is not separated, but usually the electric and gas are different on different meters and things like that. So
yeah,
and then of course your cable or Wi-Fi or whatever, internet.
Right.
I like what you said there though, and I think this is something like I was with a lot of crap when I was 22, 23. Just to plan for home, owning a home ownership, things like that. Quite frankly, I wish I would have, because I swear, when you're in college and you have no income, you get a loan or a credit card or anything. Walking into life with great credit typically. Somehow, I don't know, this miraculous give you a credit or something because you have one credit card. But I wish I would start investing in college. But anyway, one of the things you should start doing is doing the numbers on where interest rates are today, about where you think your budget would be from a price point. And kind of figure out what that monthly payment is, maybe some of those costs that Vince just mentioned. And if you're renting, try to put whatever that is away.
Yeah.
Maybe not the full thing, but because sometimes, not always, especially since interest rates have gone up, it depends what and this is a hard comparison, but your rent and your mortgage payment could be higher than what your rent was.
Correct.
But this is where we're gonna do the math on this. But with the rent, again, it's 100% interest, as a lot of people are now starting to say, because yes, you're paying to live, but you don't get anything in return. At least if the market stays flat or even goes down a little bit, you're still paying down that equity. You're still paying down that mortgage.
Right.
So therefore, maybe doing some of the savings like that. All right, what is those costs going to be? Try and put that minus whatever I'm paying for rent away.
Yep.
Just
Well,
getting used to that number.
I think there's one thing we missed when we talk about tips and tricks with home ownership and buying in today's market. Get pre-approved. Talk to a lender. Find out where you're at. I mean, we could give you all the ins and outs on buying and how to do it smart and trusting, liking somebody that's brutally honest with you. But if you talk to that lender, find out what your buying power is. That's the best way to put it is, what is your buying power? How much can you afford? And also remember, depending on the area you're looking, if you're looking in Illinois versus Wisconsin, or if you're looking in Kenosha County versus Racine County, taxes are different. Property taxes are different. So, you could you find a house with property tax at $2,000. You go across the border to Illinois, find that same house and property taxes are $5,000 now. So keeping that in mind as well.
What we should do is we should have one of our lender partners
I like
on
it.
that with the number crunching. When we're kind of going to be given some data to kind of speak on the lender side of it. I think that'd be smart.
I like it.
So any of our lender partners, if you want to be that lender, let us know. Otherwise, obviously we have our handful, whatever we'll call.
Yeah.
So okay. So we've got, obviously one BC, one ABC, two. Do we get I think we just had a 3.
Yep. Yeah.
What else is a good tip for when you're buying in this current market?
Well, I think it's understanding what the vitality of the market and what's happening. So understanding comps in the area. Hopefully your agent can speak of, how long a home sits on the market, what the comps are in that area, how much house you can get for XYZ price, right?
Yep.
Setting that expectation. I think that is, not only are we gonna be brutally honest when we're walking a house with you and you tell us, hey, we want to have 3 kids, and you get in, you're overwhelmed by the beautiful kitchen and the 4-car garage, and then all of a sudden Brad or I go, where are you putting the 3 kids? Because it's a 1-bedroom, 1 bath.
Been there, done that, guilty.
You're like, oh, great question. You think we can add on to the garage? No, I don't think you can add on to the garage, buddy. You're already at the top of your budget.
Yeah, exactly. Another thing to understand with the comps, because I like that point, would be, showing clients, like, some people don't believe that the market's still appreciating upwards of 5% in some areas.
I had this conversation yesterday with my uncle. It was quite hilarious.
Yeah. I love your uncle.
It was a different uncle, but yeah, keep going.
Okay. I still love all your uncles. Just kidding, uncles. Yeah. So sorry guys, it's Monday. I like Mondays.
I do too.
I'm in a good mood. Usually on Monday. I don't know why. I just am. Everybody hates Mondays.
Unless I'm talking to incompetent.
Everybody always says get a case of the Mondays. I love a case of the Mondays. Anyway.
We got a really good friend that owns a business, and he very rarely misses a Monday at the office. He says his Monday set him up for the week, sets his team up for the week. He does a team meeting first thing Monday morning, gives us a little hoopah speech, go get them. Very aggressive, sets goals, and it's a great concept. So yeah, Mondays, I agree. But,
so I'm gonna go down a slight rabbit hole, and I promise I'm gonna come back to comps.
Okay.
And I already see number 4, which I love talking about contingencies too. This market, especially versus 2 years ago. But my remaining rabbit hole just takes us back to that time management discussion.
Oh yeah.
This, like we said last week, like time management, your schedule is such a critical part. To that point, so for those who don't know, I'm a real estate coach, so I have some coaching clients across the country through the Tom Ferry organization. If you're not in real estate, you probably don't know who Tom Ferry is, but if you're in real estate, pretty much everybody knows who Tom Ferry is. Anyway, I'm one of those coaches, so I have his client, and he wanted really early. And I'm like, when do I want to do this? And I reluctantly, at first, scheduled 5:30 a.m. that I coach this guy Monday morning. So I'd be up on my Zoom meeting from my computer every Monday morning at 5:30 a.m. Which my wife, of course, is like, you crazy? And him and I got in this discussion, ironically, this morning when you brought that up.
Yep.
And I told him, I said, I'm gonna be honest, I was a little bit apprehensive on it. But I actually like it now because I have to be on with you. It is a requirement.
Right.
Because you need your coach to show up.
Right.
I'm like, it really helps me kick off my week the right way. And then after I'm done with you, I don't have anything till 9 a.m. hello, podcast.
Yeah, welcome.
Then I've got 3 hours to get ready, exercise, stretch, whatever, get additional work done, which I normally do. And I said, so I'll be honest, I love it now. I'm glad I have that. And because I'm a big believer, like our buddy, I think you're referencing Keith.
Keith, yep, yeah.
Like Keith is I love Mondays because if I start my Monday with the right routine, it helps the whole rest of the week.
Yep, rabbit hole.
All right. Back down to the comps. Comps also help, like I said, with monitoring like what that market's doing. And it will show you right now that we are still appreciating around 5%. It was predicted, I think, between 1% and 3% this year.
Yep.
But I think it's been hovering around 5%. Again, we're gonna do a data podcast here in a few weeks, week or two, whatever it is. And I think we're gonna give a lot of this data.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. We're gonna throw some numbers at you. We'll have a good time with it. And if you're a numbers person, you're gonna be like, holy crap, this is cool.
Well, numbers help you
understand,
comprehend, plan, adjust, all those types of things. So all right, let's go to this last one here, which
contingencies, inspections.
You got listed inspections, but just contingencies. This market in contingencies, I would say, is vastly different than probably 2 years ago.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, 2 years ago, how many times you were waiving a lot of contingencies, including inspections, which we never recommend doing.
Yep.
And even if you did inspection, you couldn't ask for anything.
Right.
Because the seller would just be like, I'll put it back on the market and I'll sell it in a second again.
Yeah.
Because I had 10 offers.
Right.
And 3 of them, you may have been 40 grand over ask, but I had several more, 35,000 over ask, right?
Yep.
So now you have some control. Right. As a buyer, not that you couldn't before, but unfortunately you'd lose the deal potentially.
Right.
So now you can get back to like not only have inspections, you can ask for the safety defects is what we always focus on, regardless of the situation. But I love that because that's normalcy. I mean, it's starting to head towards normalcy. And what I mean by a normal market is, to me, a normal market is no one side or party has too much power.
Correct.
Like I missed negotiating. I missed it. When we couldn't negotiate for a couple of years and the market was ridiculous. Actually gonna be sad. I have fun negotiating. Hell, I negotiate 3 or 4 times a day with my wife on certain things, just in life. That's the only thing I got for several years is negotiating my wife, and she wins a lot because she's my wife, and they always win. But anyway,
sorry, Andrea.
She does. She always wins. Even when she loses, she wins.
Yep. Yeah.
We just got some last night, and she's like, "You're gonna lose." I said, "I know, even if I'm right." So
here's the white flag. Throwing it in now, guys.
Progressive.
Yeah. So with it's with contingencies, and it's not just the home inspection contingency, but there is a little bit of everything else. The financing appraisal contingencies, right? You couldn't write an offer with an appraisal contingency last year, 2 years ago, or financing contingency, radon testing, well and water.
And with the appraisal, it was buyers were having to say, well, if it comes in short for what we bought, we'll absorb X dollar. And I wrote a couple myself that if it's $10,000 under the appraised value of what we're asking, buyer will cover it.
Yeah, I had a deal. Was that this summer? Yeah, that was this summer. Holy cow, time flies. Where the buyers on one of my listings came in, wrote, was it almost 40 grand over list price, and offered $15,000 in to cover anything, and appraisal gap is what they call it, appraisal gap contingency. Offered $15,000. It came in just under, I want to say, just came in just under like 15,000. They had to come to closing with an extra like $14,000 on top of the down payments and closing costs and everything else. So, but they really wanted the house. They didn't think it was going to happen. Neither I nor the agent thought it would happen. We thought it would appraise out where it needed to, or at least close to it. Maybe right not at that number, but close to it. And that was not the case. It didn't. It came in way under, and we challenged it, lost the challenge, or it is what it is. It's what happens, right? But
yeah, it's just, so you just have as a buyer now some of that, bringing it back, some of those choices with your contingencies and your ability to actually ask for legitimate fair things.
Right.
It's the best way to sum it up. I'm gonna add a 6 here real quick and then we're
I'm gonna add another one too.
I kind of just said the word. I'm just gonna call this one choices. So I get it. Another argument I've heard, not with interest rates going up, is also the price of homes has continued to go up, has been going up. You can argue dating back 20. Well, after the real estate recession crash, whatever you want to call it, from 08, I think prices started to actually go up around 2012, slightly 2013, 2014-ish.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, that's about right. But then, of course, they just really went up. So I think, buyers are saying this, well, I'm just going to wait for things to go back down. They're not going to go back down, unfortunately. And yes, I get it. When your parents bought a house in 1981 and the interest rate was 16%, which was amazing, by the way. I get it. The house that's 300 grand right now was 60.
Right.
So you're borrowing a lot less on that 16%.
Yep.
I get that. And yes, I understand, especially with inflation in the last 3 years, whatever it's been since inflation started to go up to a ridiculous amount. I get that as well, that your income has not gone up probably the way the housing market's gone up.
True.
So then that gets to my choices. We have choices. One of those choices is, well, yeah, back in 1980, my parents could afford to buy the brand new car, maybe a 4-wheeler. And this is my parents because they couldn't afford that yet. But bunch of other stuff.
Toys.
Along with home ownership. Sometimes you hear the words house poor. And that's fine if that's your lifestyle. It's a lifestyle thing. I've talked to some people before. Like I know somebody that they would call themselves. I don't think they are. I think they're doing pretty well. They would call themselves house poor, but they're okay with it because they're kind of homebodies.
Yeah.
They don't go out a lot. They don't feel the need to travel a lot. But what they do is they entertain a lot. They have people to their house. They have family to their house, friends, and all that stuff. So their home is part of that. The money they would spend on entertainment and vacations. So it's just shifting those choices, right?
Yeah.
So you have choices. Just what are your choices? All right. If you want to know that your rent's going to be this much and you don't have to worry about if the furnace breaks and all that stuff, fine, rent.
Yep.
But understand your choices and understand the financial decisions that you can make.
Right.
With that.
Right. I'm going to land with this last one, emotions in check. So I think this is really hard as you become a buyer in today's market. You see a house you fall in love with. It's maybe at the top of your price range, or it's got, 10 out of the 10 things you want. Our job is to keep you grounded. Our job is to keep your emotions in check, to where you don't get into a bidding war that drives you over your budgets. If that's your choice, that's your choice. And Brad just talked about that. But we're gonna bring it to realization. We're gonna be like, hey, you realize that if you go $10,000 over where you wanted to be, that's gonna raise your mortgage payment XYZ, right? Or if you fall in love with a location, but it doesn't quite have the layout that you're looking for, our job is to kind of bring you back to realization. Maybe it's got that 4-car garage and double vanity, but the location stinks. Like it's, a 20-minute commute just to get to a major highway so that you can drive the next 40 minutes to work. Maybe the location is not right, but our job is to help you keep those emotions in check. And then if we get into a bidding war, negotiation, like Brad said, don't, know your ending ground, know your stopping point, and don't be afraid to walk away and find that next one.
That's funny. You actually, with the last one, basically circled back around to 1B or C, where it was basically let your agent be honest with you. Let your agent be directly. Let your agent challenge you. Let your agent, you can tell an agent if they have, regardless of whether they're talking you out of doing something or in something, you can usually tell if your agent's got the best interest for you.
Right.
I mean, I've gone both ways. I said this to a gentleman I got kind of an argument with the other week. There's a client earlier this year, based on a situation, I knew what they needed. I said, I knew something was changing about this time of year, which we're going to talk soon. I said, don't buy yet. your buy will be way better this winter or next spring.
Yeah.
The vice versa, when my investor clients last week looked at the house, great opportunity. It's a husband and wife team. One of them was not wanting to offer for whatever reason. He didn't want to do a flip in the wintertime. I said, I'm gonna let you, the wife, because her and I were on the same page. So I'm gonna let you deal with talking to him. But I'm just gonna be really brutally honest, this is a mistake. This is a great buy. This will be a good, you've got so much, like, one thing you look for in flips, of course, is like, you're always gonna have the miscellaneous overages.
Right.
Like, you have a lot of play where stuff can go wrong or added expenses you're not gonna be aware of in this house and still make over 50 grand. And so everything goes perfect, you're gonna make 6-figure profit in this one. Like, do not make this mistake. And we end up writing off front of the weekend because I was honest. I said, you got to talk to him because this is a mistake.
Yep.
And I have to tell you this. And here's, but I didn't just say, here's a mistake, please trust me. I backed it up with data.
Yeah. And that's our job, right?
And in fact, I even had you
Yeah.
I even had you run the numbers on it because I'm like, man, am I seeing the right thing here?
Yep.
And even the low end of the numbers we'd sell it for afterwards, 100 grand if everything goes right. Not that everything will go right.
Nope.
But
Never does.
I feel pretty
Never
confident I can land in 50K profit on it.
And how quickly they're gonna flip that?
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
3 months.
Which we're gonna have one. That's another one I'm gonna add to one of
4
our
of those in a
topics
year.
is-
You're saying they can make 200,000 if they do this right 4 times a year?
Yep.
Now 50 grand, guys,
50 grand.
is
Yeah.
that's a high number. That's a really, really good number.
We're gonna have a conversation on this because you referenced your one uncle. The one uncle wants to make 100 grand over the flip. That's just not realistic.
No.
I've taken enough. I've taken about 4 or 5 of the top, real estate investing gurus. I've taken their courses over the last decade plus. And they'll all tell you, target 30 grand. If you make 10, great.
Yeah. I think that's all relations.
No, I get it. With them, it's a volume game because
Yeah.
they do all 50 to 100 flips a year.
Right.
But even if you're doing, I get it. If you're doing a handful of years, sure, but still 30 is a great target.
It is. So, all right, guys, I'm Vincent Devall with Eagle Homes, powered by eXp Realty.
I'm Brad Brewer. It's Monday. I love it. Let's rock.
Have a great Monday, everyone. Peace out.